There's a version of a man that everyone loves having around. He doesn't panic. He doesn't need managing. Whatever's falling apart, he's the one still standing there, steady, handling it. Everyone benefits from that man. Almost nobody asks what it costs him to be that every single day with no version of himself allowed to fall apart in return. This is Robbin, and this is the Honest Ledger. And today we're auditing a cost that almost never gets counted. What it actually takes out of a man to be everyone else's stability. Now flip it. Imagine a woman who was expected to absorb everyone's crisis without ever having a bad day of her own, expected to stay composed through her partner's stress, her kids' meltdowns, her friends' emergencies, and never once get to be the one who needs holding. We'd call that an impossible standard. We'd say no one should carry that alone. When it's a man doing exactly that, we call it maturity. We call it just how he is. This isn't an argument that women don't carry real emotional weight. They do, often a lot of it, and that's real too. This is about a specific one-directional expectation a lot of men are quietly living under, and what it actually costs to meet it. So let's open the ledger. The first entry, he's the outlet, never the source. In a lot of relationships, there's an unspoken rule. She can bring him her bad day, her anxiety, her spiraling thoughts at 11 at night, and he absorbs it, calms it, fixes what can be fixed. When he has a bad day, the room doesn't reorganize itself around him the same way. Research on emotional labor in relationships consistently finds it's distributed unevenly, and the direction of that imbalance for a lot of men runs one way without anyone deciding it should. Every late-night conversation where he was the steady one goes on one side of the ledger. Very little of the same, on the nights it's his turn, goes on the other. The second entry, his calm gets read as not caring. Different people process stress differently. Some talk it out in real time, some go quiet and handle it internally, then talk later. Neither is wrong. But a lot of men learn that the quiet, internal processing version of dealing with a hard day gets interpreted as indifference. You don't even care, when it's actually just a different wiring, not a lesser one. What this costs him is that he starts performing the emotion that gets accepted, instead of just having the one he actually has. Or he stops bringing anything to the relationship at all, because the version of him that shows up naturally keeps getting told it's wrong. The third entry, asking for help, gets read as weakness, by himself most of all. This one he mostly does to himself, but the culture around him built it. The Stoic provider script says you don't burden people with your stuff, you handle it. So he doesn't ask. Not because no one would help, plenty would, but because 3 decades of man-up conditioning taught him that needing help is the thing that gets you quietly downgraded in people's eyes. The fourth entry, he's the one who's supposed to notice, not the one who gets noticed. He's expected to read the room, sense when she's off, ask the right question at the right time. When he's off, tired, stressed, quietly struggling, the same radar isn't always pointed back at him, because he's built a reputation for being fine. The better he is at being the steady one, the less anyone checks whether he still is. The more reliable he is, the less anyone thinks to ask if he's okay, because he made okay look effortless. The fifth entry, he inherits everyone's crisis and gets credit for none of it. The friend's breakup, her family drama, the kid's school problem. He's often the last stop, the one people come to after they've already fallen apart elsewhere, because he's the one who won't fall apart with them. That's a real service. It's rarely named as one. And the sixth entry, when he finally does crack, it's treated as news, not information. Because the composed version of him is the only version most people have seen when something finally breaks through, a short temper, a shutdown, and I can't do this right now. It gets treated as alarming or out of character, instead of as the completely predictable result of years of no outlet. He doesn't get read as a person under real strain. He gets read as suddenly acting different. Here's the part that matters. None of this means stop being steady. Being the person who doesn't collapse under pressure is a genuine strength, and it's part of what makes him worth being around. The fix isn't to become someone else. It's to stop doing it with zero outlet of his own. That means finding deliberately on purpose, before he needs it, the 2 or 3 people he can actually be unfiltered with. A friend, a brother, a therapist, someone. It means being willing to name what he needs out loud instead of waiting to be noticed, because waiting to be noticed hasn't worked and isn't going to start working now. And in a relationship specifically, it means telling her directly, I need this to go both ways sometimes, not as an accusation, as information she may genuinely not have, because a lot of people never think to ask if the steady one needs steadying too. If you've been the shock absorber, the one who's fine so everyone else doesn't have to be, tell me who you actually talk to when you're not fine. Not to complain, so the next guy reading the comments realizes he's allowed to have an answer to that question too. This has been Robbin for the Honest Ledger, the channel that names what he's just like that actually costs. Subscribe if you're done being fine by default.